It is time for another professional match of StarCraft 2, and what I got for you today is a Zerg vs Protoss played on Odyssey LE. Spawning in the southeast corner, playing with the red drones, we have none other than Serral. And his opponent, spawning in the cross position and playing in blue, playing with the Protoss pieces, we have none other than Team Liquid's Mana. Now, of course, both of these players are very well known as it is right now in StarCraft 2. Mana has been around in StarCraft 2 since the very beginning of the game, if I'm not mistaken. He's been on Team Liquid for years and years and years right now, and the guy is an absolute beast. I've been really impressed with his Protoss versus Zerg lately. He's been playing this matchup very well. Generally speaking, he does open up rather aggressive, but eventually he transitions towards 3 to 4 base macro, and he gets that really powerful Protoss ball out that is extremely difficult to stop. Now, as of me making this video right now, this man right here in the bottom right corner, even though he has yet to win a premier tournament in StarCraft 2, he is currently the rank 1 Zerg in the world, statistically speaking. Obviously, you do have to win a couple of tournaments here and there if you want to actually be the rank 1 Zerg in the world, but statistically speaking, he's got the highest ranking, out of every single Zerg player on the planet right now. This guy is an absolute beast. Serral, I think about a year or so ago, nobody had really heard of him. As it is right now, the guy is just an absolute beast. He's been winning left and right, and while he seems to choke a little once he makes it to a finals, I mean, I recently watched him go up against Neep in the DreamHack finals, and this is actually also a game from that same tournament, but I saw him go up against Neep in the DreamHack finals, and he seemed to play way more sloppy than I seen him play in the majority of that tournament. So he seems to have maybe a bit of a choking issue once he makes it far and deep into a tournament, but regardless, the man is an absolute beast. I think he is definitely a name to watch out for, because he is one of the very best, if not the very best Zerg players in the world right now. And one of the interesting things actually about Serral is that while he does play a very macro-focused style, usually I see him somehow, some way sneak in like a couple of worker kills here and there, and eventually he manages to just simply kill like 30 workers over the course of a game. I don't really know exactly how he does it, but he picks up a lot of workers here and there with like overload drops, with banelings, with Zergling run-bys, with Zergling drops in the earlier part of the game, and we'll see whether or not he's planning to do something similar in this match right here as well. Now, opening up very safe, by the way, with that quick spawning pool, you will be able to send the Zerglings straight across, and by the time this Adept will be out, these Zerglings are already going to be roaming that mineral line in the main base. This is perfectly timed right here by the Zerg player, knowing precisely how the timings of this map work if your opponent is opening up standardly as well, and he will be able to figure out that indeed this is going to be a very normal build from the Protoss player, and he will shortly confirm that indeed there is going to be a second gas geyser up here for his opponent as well. So nothing really cheeky coming out of these players just yet. We do see that Twilight Council go down, actually pretty uncommon nowadays. Usually you do see a lot of players, and by the way, there was a bit of a pylon block right there at the third base, but we usually do see players open up with a starport lately. I quite like this. Like the Twilight Council, of course, you can get the Adept upgrades, you can get the Zealot upgrades, which recently have become significantly cheaper, and you can do a lot of early game harass using that, and I think judging by this robotics facility, which that Overlord can just barely see, this is most definitely going to be an Adept pressure right here earlier on into the game. I would be very surprised if that's not the case. Now, Zergling is indeed going to confirm that there is going to be a Twilight Council up here as well, so I think that Serral knows precisely what's up. Judging by that early game pylon, he knows that he is going to be in against a rather aggressive early game Protoss, and we'll see how he decides to respond. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Serral has indeed secured that third base. He's going to be able to mine a lot of resources right now, already going for that quick evolution chamber, as well as the Banelings nest right here, right before the 4-minute mark. I quite like this. Zerg players lately have been going for a lot of +1 attack openers for the melee units, that is, so their Zerglings as well as their Banelings and Ultralisk and whatnot do benefit from that. But of course, opening up with that quick evo chamber also does allow him to potentially go for an Overlord drop. And actually, judging by the fact that he's making precisely 8 Zerglings, maybe he is planning, as well as the Nematized Carapace, maybe he is planning to go for a bit of an aggressive push here on the other side of the map. We'll keep an eye out on these two Overlords. Meanwhile, though, in Mana's camp, he is indeed creating that Warp Prism. He has now also got a bunch of gateways done, and he's actually adding on 4 more of them. This is completely unscouted as it is right now for the Zerg player, but this upgrade right here in the Twilight Council that will make the Adept significantly better because they just simply attack faster it's going to be very important right here because he is most definitely planning to get aggressive right when his Warp Prism manages to reach the other side of the map, and already a couple of adepts are indeed loaded up. Now, Serral knows that this is going on, and yet he still decides to go for the Overlord push right here. He did indeed morph a Dropper Lord in right there. The other Overlord is scouting out if there are any remaining defenses out. At this point, as it is, Mana is going to get aggressive here on the other side of the map, and he's going to indeed send a couple of adepts to the mineral line, and I think that he's going to, you know, leapfrog the others inside of the main base. But at the same time, we do see a lot of the Zerglings that will be able to nibble away at this mineral line, and this is what I mean, right? He should be able to defend against his aggression as long as not too many Zerg drones end up falling here. He's going to be in a phenomenal position, but look at this though. Even though the Zerglings are still dealing damage here on the other side of the map, the adepts are already going to town right here in the main base of the Zerg. Now he does, what does he want to commit? I was going to say there are a bunch of Banelings there in the natural, but it looks like actually somehow, some way, these adepts have been shut down very, very comfortably. And while the Zerglings killed a couple of workers here and there, all things considered, I mean, this is actually an engagement that went down in favor of the Zerg. And while the adepts managed to shade right there towards that third base location, Zerglings as well as Banelings were there to greet them, and they are not going to be able to kill any more drones here for the time being. And I think that at this point, both of these players, I mean, look at the amount of queens here actually, but both of these players have got, you know, a decent amount of damage done to each other. I think this will probably just transition towards a more or less like standard macro game from here on out. I mean, the Dark Shrine is indeed done. That means that Mana is going to be able to warp in Dark Templar, but more importantly, Archons as well, which are all extremely good when it comes to, you know, being both defensive as well as offensive if you plan on trying to hurt your opponent. And Serral actually not done just yet. He does scout that his third base goes up. He does maneuver the Overlord around as well, but once again, he goes for the drop inside of the main base, still creating a couple of defensive Banelings at home just in case the Protoss is planning to get aggressive. But he is once again gonna go after the mineral land right here in the main base, although this time perfect response by Mana so far. You should have a Photon Overcharge here available as well if the mineral line is gonna be in any threat here whatsoever, and indeed these Zerglings will get shut down with relative ease. Serral, however, meanwhile on the other side of the map, he has not teched up just yet. There is no lair just yet at this point in the game. That is rather interesting. Most of the time you do see players focusing on quite a bit of, you know, that Hydra ball pressure that a lot of Zerg players have been enjoying as of late, like the Hydra Bane composition, but it looks like he is gonna go up against Archons with just purely the matter of Queens as well as Zerglings and a couple of Banelings here to defend against all of that. Now Mana, of course, he's just simply building up that economy, and I love the way he's actually playing this one out. Even though he lost a bunch of workers, it really isn't that big of a deal because of course he can just simply make workers and produce army at the same time, whereas Zerg always needs to make that decision. But it looks like actually this Warp Prism right here with that Observer was primarily meant to just slow down the advancement of the creep, which I actually don't mind whatsoever, although now that the second Archon will shortly be joining in as well, I'm assuming he's going to be capable of at the very least dropping his opponent and therefore like containing the Zerg from really moving out across the map. Lair just about to finish up. There's now also a gold base being taken here on the top right hand side of the map. That means that Serral will be able to get those juicy golden mineral patches in here very shortly as well. And I wonder what he is planning on. Like this base right here for Protoss players, it's very tricky. It's very tricky to defend. On top of that, where are you going to take your fourth base? Are you going to take it over here and you have to defend both this entire area right here and also the one down here? That is a super difficult pace to play, but however, the Banelings are loaded up into the Overlord and they are gonna drop down. Zergling will try its very best to kill as much as he can. All things considered though, there was a single Baneling missing, and at the same time the Archon drop is going down in the main base. It's trying to pick up whatever it can. One of the queens does end up falling, but at the same time Zerglings and Banelings are now also dropping in the middle line over here. And this is what I mean, right? This is what Serral does. This is what Serral does in Zerg vs Protoss. It's very interesting. Most of the Zerg players in the world play that super defensive style. Also over in Korea, I mean, there's a little bit of drop shenanigans every now and then, but most of the time, it's the Protoss player that is deciding how the pace of the game goes. It's the Protoss player that is deciding how many workers get killed, I guess, from his opponent, and how much economy both of them get away with. But Serral, while his opponent is pressuring as well, and while he is defending at home, which is a very difficult thing to do, he is also pressuring his opponent's mineral line, which is such an uncommon thing. And I think in total, yeah, look at that. 17 workers have ended up falling here already in favor of the Zerg player. Now Mana, he's actually building up to this ball of units that is very difficult to stop. He's going for that High Templar, you know, composition that is obviously absolutely incredible. Storm is going to be crucial in this engagement. He's also getting himself the attack upgrades right now. So he is planning to go for that Immortal Archon composition while constantly harassing his opponent. Now he does need to be very careful, Mana, that is, because the Hydralisks are out right now. And while he does pick up a couple of workers here and there, and while he is once again going to be in some pressure, he needs to keep that mineral line alive. A lot of the workers do end up getting killed there, and while there are still a couple of Banes here ready to unload in the mineral line in the main as well, and while a bunch of drones do end up getting killed here too, all things considered, this is all going right here in favor of the Zerg player in red. I mean, he's been doing a phenomenal job of just simply shutting down his opponent, and while Mana is doing a good job as well at killing as much as he can. I mean, I talked about it earlier on into this game, right? I mean, look at that. 34 probes end up getting killed there, which is such a substantial amount. And now that Zerg has finished up +2 attack, he's going to be able to one-shot those workers, which is a very, very important upgrade as well. With just a single Baneling, they will all end up falling. Anyway, I was talking about the army composition right here of Mana. He's going for that Immortal Archon Zealot Sentry, you know, Mothership Core, and then a lot of High Templar here as well with Storm. That is probably the best composition against Zerg as it is right now, and I really, really like it. He's got a good defensive posture, and even though he's lost a lot of workers here in total, he's also dealt a significant blow to his opponent's economy, and he is going to be capable of dealing with this army with ease. This is going to be a very important one. Now, the fort base is trying to get taken right here, but at the same time, there's a massive engagement on the other side on the map. A couple of Banelings are trying their very best to roll into that mineral line once again, and while it looks like this time around they will only be able to get a couple of workers, the fort base is so... he's actually still alive. It's actually still alive. It's so vulnerable, though. I think that the Zerg is going to be capable of just simply sending some more Zerglings in there, and at the very least forcing the cancel for right now, because it's difficult to figure out exactly where your opponent is located when you are the Protoss, and indeed, that base does get cancelled. But I think that Serral must realize here as well, what is his next plan, right? He must realize here as well that this army from the Protoss is very strong and very difficult to stop. Look at the amount of Archon here. Gotta keep in mind, a bunch of these have been out for quite some time. A bunch of these, look at them. I think those are the two right there. They have got 12 and 16 kills each. Beautiful Storm goes down there too, taking control of that high ground. Very nicely done. Very nicely done once again by Mana. Really making sure that he does not get caught with his pants down. But I hold that thought, because it looks like Zerg was planning to engage there for at least a little while. But it turns out to mostly just be a distraction to try and let these Banelings roll into that mineral line once again. And you can see both of these players are really trying to, like, simply take jabs at each other, but it does look like, for the most part, the Protoss' harass has been shut down. Now, these Archons, they're gonna have a field day against all of these Banelings, but they are separated off from the rest of this Protoss army. That does mean that I think they're gonna be able to pick up a significant amount of kill. The one that I just clicked had 15 like kills right there in total. That is most definitely more than enough to justify this. But both players are really just trading here, but neither are doing crippling amounts of damage to their opponent. And indeed, we see that transition right now from Serral, and I actually really like the... oh man, this is actually really well done by both of them. We see that Hive going down, we see the Spire going down as well, but already, even without scouting, Mana knows that the Brute Lord transition is coming in just a little bit. He hasn't seen the Spire, but he knows that a Hive should be coming out shortly. And even though his opponent hasn't shown Brute Lords just yet, you gotta make sure that you have Tempest out in time, because if the Tempest are, you know, not at the correct timing, and you all of a sudden get caught with your pants down against a bunch of these Brutes, you're gonna be in a lot of trouble. Banelings and Hydras once again engaging at this location. Once again, that building placement right there, as well as the Photon overcharges, they have been on point. And the Mothership Core, as well as all of these units, they deal a significant amount of damage, and they do once again ward away against the majority of the Zerg army. The only issue right now for the Protoss right here, right, and while he is once again trying to continue onwards, is that he doesn't have a whole lot of economy. War Prism does end up getting killed here as well, but this fort base is crucial. This is what I was talking about earlier as well. Like, this securing of this base is so hard. How are you going to do that as a Protoss? I've played so many games as Protoss on this map. I always land in the same situation that Mana is in right now. You're getting run around. I mean, Zerg is just trying to harass every which way. He's trying to deny as much of the economy here as he can. And once again, the force of that, I mean, he forces the cancel on that fort every time. It's extremely difficult to play here for a Protoss player. And even though, you know, the trades are, you know, just like it sounds, it's more or less like a trade. Serral was trading an even amount of army for an even amount of the Protoss' army as well. The thing is that Zerg has got a ton of economy. He's up to like 6 bases at this point, and that is a very significant amount, meaning that Serral, I mean, even though he's trading here, right, he's trading armies, he knows that his opponent's main and natural are going to be essentially mined out here already, and already, I mean, that's 16 workers on like 6 mineral patches. Not quite what you want to have right here, on actually 4 mineral patches right there, if you are the Protoss player. He is sort of like dealing a lot of damage to his opponent by just simply bleeding him dry. We do see that mothership switch right now, actually, and I really do like that. There's now also Tempest out, so even though Brute Lords are currently morphing in, Tempests are absolutely crucial. You do need them out before the Brute Lords show themselves, because otherwise you're going to be in a lot of trouble. But he has got a solid amount of army here already, and even though, you know, he doesn't have that 4th base, I think his best option is to just simply build up that super powerful Protoss force, and he's got it already. I mean, this is 160 supply worth of Protoss. He can keep on adding on more and more units here, and once he does, once he closes in on say like 180 supply or so, he can do so much work. However, once again, the Zerg army is advancing. High Templar are a little bit caught off guard there, but it looks like they will be zoned away for the time being, and Zerg is really more or less just being a pain right now. Pathogen glands going down here for infestors. Of course, you can get those out in just a little bit here as well. More and more Tempests are being added on though, and I quite like this. I mean, Tempests are still great at picking off pretty much every single unit that the Zerg has because of their range, right? And even though the Zerg currently has got Brute Lords, he's not going to be able to engage with them quite just yet. Once again, though, I'm starting to get worried here, right? Mana will just simply run out of resources. I mean, the main, the natural, as well as the 3rd shortly here are all going to be dried up, and that means that he's going to have to make a move for it, and I think that Mana realizes it as well. He has to get that, you know, crazy economy going if he wants to continue onwards with this game, but even though he's trying his best to secure a 4th every time he does, it just simply gets shut down here from the red Zerg player, and even though the tech here from Serral is not nearly as high, look at that, he's got money here to build up spores as well, and this almost feels like a nail in the coffin, and this is what Serral does. He bleeds his opponent dry over the course of about, you know, 15 to 20 minutes. He just simply sits there. He knows that his opponent needs that 4th base, and if they don't, he knows that they will be forced to move across the map at some point. And if he can deal with that army composition, if he can deal with that near maxed out Protoss force, he's going to be in an incredible point to just simply take the victory, because he's got mining for days. Zerglings are trying to make their way towards that natural. Banelings once again rolling into the mineral lines. Oh my god, that most definitely forces Mana to go all in here. Let's have a look at these unit compositions, right? Indeed, there are a bunch of Spore Crawlers available right now. These Brute Lords are going to have to get in position, but even though the Tempests are going to be able to land a couple of pot shots, there's so many Queens out as well. They're going to be able to transfuse this easily, but there are enough now to one-shot these Brutes, which is a very nice thing. But once again, this Protoss push right here is essentially all in. Zerg has got a nice bank. He can restock on all of these units reasonably easily, and Zerglings, I mean, they're still going to town. 31 more workers end up getting killed there, nearly 80 in total during the majority of this match. Protoss is pushing on top of all of the Spore Crawlers, and the Zerg is just simply going to be able to maul away at so many of these units. So much micro going down though, and really Mana making the best of a bad situation, but I feel like once this Zerg once again starts producing stuff, it's going to be an extremely difficult fight to win here for our blue Protoss player, and in a very solid macro game. Indeed, Serral will be able to run over his opponent. 50 Zerglings in the production tab, 8 Hydras here as well, and there's production here for many more units available as well, and I highly doubt that there's really gonna be any point of contest here once these reinforcing Zerg units arrive on the map. Banelings are being morphed in here as well, and while Protoss is desperately trying to make a move here as well, there's just simply so much Zerg available that this is gonna be almost impossible for him to win. Still, he's got a nice force here. He can potentially try and clean this one up, but the thing is, these Banelings are done, and Banelings, they are just simply so very good at dealing damage here. The Hydras are picking off the units from afar, and Mana is forced to GG out. I hope you enjoyed watching this game. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below, and if you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get a notification as soon as I upload more. And other than that, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I will see you in the next one.